rural Northern Ireland. An elderly couple sits quietly watching television when something strange begins to happen. The woman suddenly notices drops of blood falling into her cup of tea, slowly spreading through the drink. She quickly realizes her nose is bleeding, but before she can react, blood begins running from her husband's eyes as well. Then they notice something even more disturbing. Blood is seeping out from beneath their chairs. The front door suddenly opens. The terrified woman screams, while her husband stares toward the entrance and mutters one word: devil. But to understand what's happening, we need to go back 2 months. At a local pub called the Stoker, Eugene is drinking with his best friend William. Eugene is unemployed, broke, and already owes the pub plenty of money, so William's girlfriend, Claire, refuses to serve him any more drinks. That's when 2 Canadian tourists walk inside. Eugene immediately guesses they've come to see the cairn, an ancient pile of stones sitting on William's family land. Seeing an opportunity to score some free alcohol, Eugene convinces the tourists that he and his friends can guide them there. Instead of cash, he happily accepts a pile of beer cans as payment. As they head across the fields, Eugene tells the visitors the legend surrounding the place. Long ago, the land supposedly belonged to a cruel man named Abertach, whose name became associated with the undead. According to the story, Abhartach drank human blood, and although the locals repeatedly tried to kill him, he always returned. Eventually, a local chieftain managed to stop him by stabbing him through the heart and burying his body beneath a massive pile of stones. That burial mound became known as the cairn. Years later, Irish writer Bram Stoker supposedly visited the area, heard the story of Abertach, and used the legend as inspiration for Dracula. Ever since then, the small town has attracted curious visitors. Soon, Eugene leads the tourists to the cairn in the middle of the field. The stones haven't been disturbed since the burial. According to local superstition, anyone who gets too close can suddenly begin bleeding. The Canadian man doesn't believe a word of it. William tells him that he grew up beside this field and spent his childhood hearing stories about Abertach's voice coming from beneath the stones. Still skeptical, the tourist presses his ear against the cairn. Suddenly, a horrifying hand grabs him. The man screams and jumps away, only for SP to reveal himself. It was another prank. Eugene, William, and SP regularly scare tourists using the local legend. Furious and embarrassed, the Canadian couple insults them before storming away, while the 3 friends celebrate another successful trick with their beer. The following morning, Eugene is awakened by the relentless sound of a car horn. Outside is his father, Francie. Francie immediately criticizes his son for drinking all night and asks why Eugene still refuses to sell his collapsing house. Eugene insists the property belonged to his mother, and selling it isn't what she would have wanted. He invites his father inside, but Francie doesn't have time. His construction company has been hired to prepare the land for a new bypass, and he offers Eugene a job on the project. Eugene refuses. The bypass will force William's family from their land, and much of the town is already furious because construction threatens the ancient cairn. After his father leaves, Eugene continues repairing his late mother's old barn. While examining a damaged section of wall, he notices something hidden inside. It's part of a human skull. Before he can make sense of it, Claire and William suddenly appear, startling him. They've been trying to contact him all morning. Later, the friends head into town and encounter William's father, George, who is working on a Saturday because he desperately needs the extra money. The bypass has effectively destroyed the value of his family's property, and they have only 2 months before they're forced to leave. Since George works as a mortician, Eugene shows him the skull. George isn't impressed. He explains that an old farm like Eugene's could have all kinds of dead things buried beneath it. Later, Eugene goes to his father's house to shower, because his own home doesn't even have hot water. While washing, he suddenly notices the skull staring at him. He nearly panics before realizing Francie put it there as a joke, but the laughter doesn't last long. Francie again criticizes Eugene for refusing to work, refusing to sell the property, and surviving by constantly borrowing things from everyone around him. Eugene changes the subject. He asks whether his mother's farm could have been built over some historical site. If it was, maybe an archaeologist would pay him for permission to excavate the property. That only makes Francie angrier. He warns Eugene that digging could destroy the farm, and tells him he can't spend his entire life waiting for some magical plan to make him rich without working. Later that night at the pub, William quietly reveals something huge. He's moving to Australia. When Claire approaches and asks what they're discussing, neither man tells her. By closing time, William is extremely drunk, so Eugene takes him home. Crossing the field, Eugene becomes increasingly angry. He accuses William of abandoning his hometown, his friends, and Claire. Worse, William still hasn't told Claire he's leaving. Eugene threatens to tell her himself. William punches him. The two friends begin fighting, something that apparently happens often whenever William drinks too much. During the struggle, Eugene kicks him backward. William crashes against the cairn and slices his hand open on one of its sharp stones. Then they hear George shouting. He desperately tells them to get away from the field. Neither understands why. Until a bull suddenly charges through the darkness. The animal slams William against the cairn and repeatedly drives its horns into him. George races toward them and fires his gun. The bull finally runs away, but it's already too late. William is dead. George collapses beside his son's body, while Eugene stands nearby in shock. Then Eugene notices William's blood disappearing into the soil beneath the cairn. After the funeral, Eugene and SP return to the pub hoping for a drink. Instead, they find an angry town waiting for them. Many locals blame William's death on their stupid tourist pranks. Others despise Eugene's family because Francie's company is tearing apart the fields for the bypass. Eugene and SP are thrown out. With nowhere else to go, they sit inside a van drinking from cans. Eugene begins wondering whether he should leave town completely and start over somewhere else. SP reminds him of one obvious problem. He has no money. Finally realizing he needs to do something with his life, Eugene accepts his father's construction job. Claire and SP join the crew as well. When George discovers Eugene working on the bypass, he sees it as a betrayal. He asks Eugene whether he noticed anything unusual on the night William died. Eugene insists he didn't. George doesn't seem convinced. Before leaving, he warns Eugene that destroying the cairn will bring consequences. Eugene ignores him. He orders another worker, Gabriel, to demolish the cairn. Gabriel refuses. He isn't willing to be the man who wakes whatever might be buried underneath it. So Eugene climbs into the excavator himself. One powerful strike is enough. The ancient cairn collapses. That night, Eugene tells Claire he's thinking about moving to Australia. He still hasn't told his father. Claire immediately makes fun of his terrible attempt at keeping secrets and reveals that she already knew William had planned to leave. Their conversation becomes more personal when Claire notices a photograph of Eugene's mother. Her death has always remained uncertain. Nobody ever knew whether it was an accident or something she intentionally did. Claire understands what it's like to lose a parent. When she was only 7, she watched her father die after he tried operating a chainsaw without knowing how to use it properly. Meanwhile, Charlie has been left alone to guard the construction site. Instead of staying alert, he spends the night drinking. Then he hears something outside. Charlie investigates but finds nobody. Frustrated, he shouts into the darkness. He never notices the figure moving behind him. Charlie returns to the office. Seconds later, he screams. Blood splashes across the window. The next morning, the construction crew arrives to find the entrance gate still locked. Charlie was supposed to open it hours ago. Francie soon has to leave for a meeting with a client, putting Eugene temporarily in charge. Once the workers enter the site, everyone stops. The cairn has somehow been rebuilt. Every stone appears to be back in place. Eugene tries calling Charlie. No answer. He searches the site but can't find him anywhere. By evening, Francie returns and discovers almost no work has been completed. Furious, he tells Eugene they're now 3 days behind schedule. Eugene claims he's found another route around the cairn. Francie immediately shuts the idea down. Eugene isn't an engineer and has no authority to redesign the project. Then Charlie appears at the doorway. There's a bloody wound across his head. Charlie can't remember what happened. Francie orders Eugene to drive him to the hospital. They climb into the vehicle. Without warning, Charlie turns violent. He attacks Eugene and tries to bite him, causing the vehicle to crash into the construction equipment. Francie and the others rush over and pull Eugene free. Eugene tells them Charlie tried to bite him. There's only one problem. Charlie has disappeared. Suddenly, every light across the construction site goes dark. Eugene wants everyone to leave. Francie assumes his son is simply looking for another excuse to avoid working. Then Gabriel is violently dragged into the darkness. Blood sprays across Eugene's face. Nobody even saw what grabbed him. Whatever it was moved impossibly fast. Francie sends SP to find something they can use as a weapon while ordering Eugene to start the machinery. Eugene and Claire head into the break room to find the keys. Eugene sweeps his flashlight across the darkness. Charlie is standing in the corner. His face is covered in blood. He lunges at Eugene and tries biting him again. Eugene desperately holds him back while Claire attacks Charlie with a metal pole. Charlie turns toward her. Claire quickly dives beneath a table. Charlie climbs onto it, waiting for her to emerge. Eugene suddenly lifts the table. Charlie loses his balance and falls directly onto the pole. It punches through his chest. His heart is forced out of his body. Charlie stops moving. Elsewhere, Francie and SP discover Gabriel's corpse lying in the grass. Eugene and Claire soon join them and explain that Charlie is dead. Then Charlie walks out of the break room. The pole is still sticking straight through his chest. Francie grabs it. Everyone joins the struggle, pushing against Charlie until his heart finally drops free and his body falls into a hole. Eugene immediately connects everything to the destroyed cairn. But Claire notices something that doesn't make sense. According to the legend, piercing the creature's heart should have killed it. It clearly didn't. Francie still refuses to believe anything supernatural is happening. As far as he's concerned, Charlie is drunk, injured, or insane. Then Charlie begins pulling himself back up the pole. Claire has seen enough. She climbs into the excavator and dumps a load of dirt over him. Charlie keeps fighting his way upward. So Claire scoops up stones from the cairn and drops them into the hole. This time, Charlie stays buried. Francie begins trying to invent an explanation they can give the police. Eugene finally breaks. He tells everyone what he saw when William died. His blood had disappeared into the ground beside the cairn. Eugene now believes Abertak was never truly dead. The stones weren't marking his grave. They were keeping him inside it. Then a foot rises from the exposed ground where the cairn once stood. Everyone runs. They take shelter inside George's house and desperately explain what's happening. George refuses to believe them. He walks away to check on his wife, Pauline, who has barely responded to anything since William's death. Eugene calls the police. Knowing nobody will believe a story about an undead monster, he claims there's a suspicious person roaming around town and convinces an officer to investigate. After hanging up, the group realizes waiting for the police won't be enough. They need to handle this themselves. They ask George for his car. He refuses, so they take the keys anyway. Inside the vehicle, Eugene notices an empty bottle belonging to Charlie. Something suddenly clicks. He storms back into the house looking for George. Instead, Eugene wanders into the morgue. He opens the storage drawers. They're filled with dead animals. The others arrive and immediately realize something is wrong. Then George appears. When they confront him about Charlie, George raises a gun. He gives Eugene a choice. Walk away now and remain safe, or stay and discover something that will change his life forever. Eugene chooses the truth. George sends him toward the good room, a part of the house Eugene and William were forbidden from entering when they were children. Eugene opens the door. Metal bars block the entrance. Beyond them, The room has been destroyed. Something is living inside. Eugene moves closer. William suddenly appears. His dead friend has become a savage, bloodthirsty creature. Eugene can only stare at him. Then he returns to the others and tells them William is alive. Everyone rushes over. Claire sees him and screams. Meanwhile, two teenagers are sharing a cigarette elsewhere in town when they notice a shadowy figure nearby. The boy's neck suddenly snaps. He collapses. As the terrified girl watches, blood begins leaving his body and flowing toward the mysterious figure. Back at the house, George finally explains everything. After William's death, George volunteered to handle his son's body himself. Pauline couldn't bear it and wanted another mortician to take over. George refused. Then William woke up. Pauline's screams continued until the shock left her almost completely unresponsive. William was initially weak. George locked him inside the good room and tried feeding him meat. It wasn't enough. Eventually, he began bringing William live animals. But George discovered something else. A bite doesn't create these creatures. The cairnstones do. During William's autopsy, George found a small piece of stone lodged inside his hand from when he'd cut himself on the cairn. George couldn't allow construction to continue and force his family from the house while William was hidden inside. So he killed Charlie. Then he opened Charlie's chest and placed a fragment of the cairn inside his body, hoping the resulting attacks would frighten everyone enough to stop the bypass. The others remind George of the man William used to be. Funny, loyal, human. Whatever is trapped inside that room isn't their friend anymore. George finally breaks down. He admits he has no idea what to do. Francie approaches as if he's going to comfort him. Instead, he takes George's gun. As everyone prepares to leave, George asks them for one last thing. Help him end this. After some hesitation, they agree. But simply burying William won't be enough. Francie believes they should cut off his head. The group begins preparing a trap inside the hallway. While they're working, SP wonders whether Abhartak might be searching for the descendant of the man who originally defeated him. Eugene contacts the police again. The officer insists the town seems completely peaceful. Once the trap is ready, Eugene opens the good room and runs. William follows. Every other doorway has been blocked, leaving him only one path. But William senses something is wrong. He refuses to enter the hallway. Claire suddenly grabs Eugene's hand. The sight seems to trigger something inside William. Jealousy. He charges. George raises an axe. Before he can strike, a gunshot rings out. Pauline has awakened. She shot George to protect her son. Pauline approaches William, desperate to reunite with him. William responds by tearing open her throat. Then he drinks her blood. The others flee outside and jump into the car. The keys are gone. William emerges from the house. George fires at him. He misses and hits the vehicle. Everyone retreats inside while George finally manages to shoot his son. The bullets do nothing. George can no longer endure what William has become. He tries to turn the gun on himself. It's empty. William attacks. George dies as his own son drinks his blood. Across town, the police officer wakes after hearing something strange. He goes into the bathroom. Instead of urine, blood begins pouring from his body. At another house, Claire's mother develops a nosebleed while sleeping. The blood moves across the floor and slips beneath the front door. The pub owner begins bleeding as well. And now the opening scene is happening at the elderly couple's house. Across the neighborhood, blood starts pouring from building after building. Back at George's house, William searches for another victim. He enters the morgue. A coffin sits nearby, but William ignores it. Instead, he opens one of the drawers. SP is hiding inside. SP immediately shoots him with a nail gun. At the same moment, Eugene bursts out of the coffin. He strikes William with an axe while SP attacks him with a dead sheep. Together, they force William into the coffin. Claire and Francie rush over to help hold the lid shut. During the struggle, William slashes SP across the stomach, and cuts Eugene's arm. Claire grabs the nail gun. She fires nails through the coffin lid until William is completely trapped. Afterward, Eugene follows a trail of blood. He finds SP sitting on the couch, drinking. His wound is fatal. His friends desperately try to stop the bleeding, but SP knows what's happening. He finishes his beer. Then he dies. Claire and Eugene are devastated, but Francie forces his son back to his feet. Their job isn't finished. The three bury William's coffin. Then they stack every cairnstone they can find over the grave. Afterward, they take the construction vehicle and race back toward town. Outside the pub, they discover an unconscious man lying on the ground as blood pours from his nose. Claire runs home. Her mother and stepfather are both bleeding in bed. They need to find Abhartach. Eugene suddenly remembers the skull he discovered inside his mother's barn. If human remains were hidden there, the farm may have once been Abhartach's lair. Claire stays behind with her family, while Eugene and Francie hurry to the farm. The front door is already open. They enter. Francie tries turning on the lights. Nothing happens. Eugene still hasn't repaired them. Unknown to them, Abhartach is beneath the barn, drinking the blood flowing toward him through an underground passage. Then he senses someone nearby. Upstairs, Eugene and Francie examine old family photographs. They make a crucial discovery. Eugene's mother's maiden name matches the name of the man who defeated Abhartach centuries earlier. Eugene is his descendant. Francie suddenly steps toward him. For a second, Eugene thinks his father is finally going to hug him. Instead, Francie checks the wound on Eugene's arm. It's bleeding badly. Then Francie's ear begins bleeding too. Abhartach is close. Francie calmly stuffs a piece of tissue into his ear. They hear movement. Both men hide behind the door. As they wait, Francie suddenly claims he saw something. Eugene turns. His father punches him unconscious. Francie hides Eugene beneath several bags, determined to protect his son. Abhartach reaches the top of the stairs. Francie attacks from behind. With one powerful swing of the axe, he cuts the creature's head off. Francie wakes Eugene and pretends his son simply fainted. Neither notices the severed head moving across the floor. It reaches the body and reconnects itself. Abhartach suddenly grabs Francie by the jacket and hurls him into the railing. Then the creature strikes Francie's leg with the axe. Eugene charges forward and rams a tool cart into Abhartach, pinning him against the wall. He helps his injured father into another room. Abhartach begins smashing against the door. They need another escape route. The only option is the rubble chute outside the window. Father and son slide down. The landing is brutal. Then they notice daylight breaking across the horizon. They rush toward the barn, hoping Abhartach will follow them outside and burn in the rising sun. Francie steps backward. The ground disappears beneath him. He falls into a hidden hole leading to the barn's basement. Eugene immediately follows. Then he hears movement above. He looks out. Abhartach is standing in the sunlight. Nothing happens. The creature enters the barn. Eugene drags his injured father behind a wall. Abhartach drops into the basement and begins smashing through support columns while searching for them. Eugene desperately needs a weapon. Francie looks at his destroyed leg. He tells his son to use it. Eugene hesitates. There isn't time. He grabs Francie's injured leg and pulls until it comes free. Using the exposed bone like a weapon, Eugene drives it into Abhartach. The creature collapses, thrashing on the ground. Eugene immediately tears dirt from the opening in the wall and begins burying him. Across town, people slowly stop bleeding and regain consciousness. Eugene finishes covering the grave. Then he stacks the stones over it, rebuilding the cairn and sealing Abhartach beneath the earth once again. Only then does he return to his father. For perhaps the first time Eugene can remember, Francie looks at him with genuine pride. Good job. Then he passes out. 3 months later, life has begun moving forward again. Eugene and Claire share one final drink at the Stoker. before Claire leaves for Australia for a year. After saying goodbye, Eugene returns home. He didn't sell the place. Instead, he's rebuilding it. Francie is helping with the renovations despite now walking with a peg leg and cane. And inside the barn, Eugene continues strengthening the cairn, adding bricks and heavy slate over the stones. Because after everything he's seen, Eugene knows exactly what's buried underneath. And this time, he intends to make sure it stays there. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.